if you're a young man in America, then you're probably on the political right. And if you're on the political right, then you've probably voted Republican before. And listen, I wouldn't blame you. I've done the same thing. The Republican Party is the only party in America that caters to our needs, whether that's immigration, whether that's abortion, whether that's First Amendment rights, whether that's Second Amendment rights, etc. You kind of get the picture. They're the ones that you vote for. But within the last year, as we see the Trump administration and their favorability rating and their approval rating just decreasing. Now, it's at 36%. We can all recognize there's a big problem, and specifically for young people that voted Trump in. We see that he's not caring about the economy. We see that he continues to blindly support Israel's genocide in Gaza. We see that, just like the previous administration, the Trump administration is lying to us about what they say how great the economy is. But in reality, we still feel the same. In fact, some people feel worse. To the point where it leaves a lot of people like myself frustrated. How are we going to continue? We were sold an American dream last November that was promising us a golden age, that was promising us change, real substantive change. And it's all the same thing. So you would understand why so many people are upset. And in addition to Gen Z, a lot of adults are upset. Why? Because these are the adults that have Gen Z children, and they understand the perils that we all face with the economy, with the job crisis, etc. And the leading voice on that is Tucker Carlson. Tucker has 4 kids, all Gen Z, and he recently came out and said that he hated the Republican Party. Why? Because of all the things I just mentioned. The Republican Party has claimed to be the party of the right, the party of free speech, even though they banned Jimmy Kimmel from television. Weird. The party of immigration reform and strong borders. Now, the border's closed, but they haven't published any deportation numbers since January. Why? They claim to be the party of peace and no new wars, yet we're going to war with Venezuela, and we bombed Iran. You see the contradictions? So it's no surprise that people like Tucker, again, are going to turn on this party if they continue to go down this path. And so Tucker did. He went on the Shawn Ryan Show recently, and he publicly said that he absolutely hates the Republican Party. So we're going to play this clip. It's not a long clip, but here it is.
And on the Republican Party, which is almost to the point where it's just useless, and I'm going to have to oppose it because I hate them too much, but because they're such betrayers. But anyway, in the Republican Party, it's like, you a socialist? Are you from Mondani? No, not really a socialist. Just, I don't want any more dollar stores. I don't want high density housing in my neighborhood. I don't want any more fucking strip malls that nobody goes to. No more karate studios and vape shops. Like, how about no? Ooh, socialist? You don't believe in the free market? Because you bribed a fucking county commissioner to build more garbage? You don't even live here? Mm-hmm. In a normal society, we'd burn your strip mall down. So you can't do that here. You can't turn my women into prostitutes. Sorry, OnlyFans. And you can't destroy the landscape that I live in. No. How about no? That's not crazy, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, no.
And you can't take all my tax dollars and then refuse to do anything about child molestation. The whole reason you exist, county commissioners, is to protect my daughters from getting molested. But you won't because, why?
And there you go. So that kind of sums up everything. Now, in addition, just think about the past 50 years, okay? 60 years perhaps. And think about modern day conservatism. Well, what has conservatism conserved? Think about it. If you're somebody on the left, you have had lots of success politically within the past 50, 60 years. Obviously, Roe v. Wade happened. Abortion was legalized at the federal level. It got overturned. It went back to the states. Whatever. But that was a win over the past 60 years for the left side of the country. In addition to that, you've had over 50 million. Some people say 50 million. Trump says 50 million. I think it's around 40 million, but regardless, it's still a high number. You have around 50 to 40 million illegals that are here. They were able to cross through the border. These are the people talking about no human is illegal. People on the right have been voting for a long time to shut down the border. Now they finally shut it down, but it wasn't shut down in the previous Trump administration, and it wasn't shut down in the Bush administration. And we've been hearing for a long time, and I listen, I've followed lots of presidential elections. I've been following this since Obama was elected for the first time. And I remember hearing politicians say, oh, they're going to take our jobs. Republican politicians saying, oh, the immigrants are going to take our jobs. And yet they still let all of them in for a very long time, legal and illegal, for a very long time. But what they did was they used xenophobia, we can call it xenophobia, to ramp up voters, to get them scared and afraid, to vote for them, and then they turn around and they do the complete opposite. And this is a trend. Look outside. Things suck. The economy is shit. People my age now, they have a 1 in 4 chance of getting out of college if they have a bachelor's degree, a degree that they, in some places, which is insane, but true, went into 6 figures of debt for, depending on what college they went to. They have a 1 in 4 chance now of being unemployed after they've graduated. Why? Because the job market is awful. The housing crisis. We have a general housing crisis in this country where the median age of a first-time home buyer now is 40 years old. A decade ago, it was 30 years old. What is conservative about the conservative movement that my family members, generations before me, my parents, my grandparents, everybody who previously bought into the Republican Party, it's all a lie because nothing has been conserved. Look at modernity. Look at what Tucker is saying, okay? He doesn't want his daughters to turn into prostitutes. OnlyFans, yes, the culture has moved so far to the left, but yet the Republican Party for the past 60 years, even though the culture has moved left, they campaign, they go on their elections and they say, you know, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And they talk, very big talk. This was one of my big criticisms of Trump. You have campaign Trump where he's in the office and he's one way, and then you have Trump where he's running for office and it's a completely different Trump. When he's President Trump, he's going after the Democrats, right? He's saying, oh yeah, on the campaign, we're going to lock Hillary up. And then when he gets there, he's like, no, that was actually only good for the campaign. It was good for the election. Yeah, we don't need to say that now. Huh? 2016, he says, I'm a self-starter, right? AIPAC, I'm not going to take your money. Fast forward to 2024, and he's taking $100 million from Miriam Adelson, an Israeli dual citizen in America, who also happens to have all of money in a bunch of different politicians' pockets and is able to control them via AIPAC, for example. I mean, we can continue to point out the contradictions here, but it's just very frustrating when you have a Republican Party that, in my view, and a lot of view of young men, should die. This thing, what an ultimate facade, right? Because this thing has, for the past 50, 60 years, been a lie. It's been people campaigning and fundraising and telling all of these lies to the voters while they're in the campaign to try and get reelected. They go all the way to the right and they placate and they try to appeal to, in some ways, it is what it is, racist sensibilities of their voters to try and draw them up and get them excited. And when people hear, oh yeah, we're going to deport all of the illegal immigrants, we're going to be able to have work if you live in the Midwest and your town's decimated and you don't understand why all of the jobs were taken away, in part because of the Republican officials who are unfortunately in the pockets of billionaires, and they're taking money and they're able to be involved in these different bills and financially benefit from the billionaires that are funding their campaigns in exchange to look the other way when the corporations move to China. Like, this is real. This is unfortunate. This is how politics work in this country if you are on the political right. Now, the left has had many other victories. Gay marriage was passed federally in 2015. And you have all of the cultural stuff that came with that, which, I mean, it is what it is, but it's a win for the left. The nuclear family is dead. The divorce rate is 50+%. it's a huge problem. You have the death of organized religion in this country, the death of Christianity in this country at an all-time low. Now it's coming back with Gen Z, but I believe that's just a symptom of living in a pagan world, in a non-religious world where these things were never around really when we grew up. So you have that. So, I mean, nothing has been conserved. That's what I'm trying to bring home here. I'm sorry to go off on tangents, but the Republican Party really hasn't done anything. The Republican Party is not the party of strong borders. At least, maybe not then. Maybe it is now. But the Republican Party is not the party of conservatism. I mean, you look at Donald Trump back in 2020, and he was the one that was giving out COVID stimulus checks, creating fake money to artificially boost the economy so things didn't go bad. And real revolution didn't start to happen. But what's conservative about that? I would argue that if real revolution did happen, maybe we would be on a better track now. I mean, Donald Trump campaigned in 2024 on completely balancing the budget, getting the national debt down to zero. He just added another trillion. The national debt is literally at $38 trillion at an all-time high. What has conservatism done? Conservatism over the past 50, 60 years in America, the Republican Party, has failed. It's been a huge scam. And so, yeah, when Tucker says that, I completely get it. Tucker, being somebody that was part of the old guard, right? Was on TV for decades, was calling for the war in Iraq, was calling for war in the Middle East, right, during the Bush era, and has publicly admitted that he was wrong. After seeing all the destruction that it caused, publicly claiming that he was wrong and that he hates the neocons and has went against Israel and Christian Zionism, and he's really embraced this nationalistic sentiment, and that is the cure right now. Conservatism, dead. Didn't work. Nothing's been conserved. Everything is dying. Everything is changing. The whole argument that the Republican Party has pushed is a lie. And all of the people that campaigned on that message over the past 50, 60 years have all lied. It's been a giant slap in the face to voters. So now what replaces the Republican Party? The answer is a true populist right-wing movement. And I mean, this is the whole argument with Trump. Like, it hasn't worked. It's all been a scam. But the argument also, in addition to that, is that Trump is not the end, right? He may be the precursor to a much bigger populist movement in this country from the right. So this is a good thing. In conclusion, this is a very good thing to begin the show. But we need to understand that the Republican Party is not going to save us. These people that run, and every well, it depends on what kind of term they're, if they're congressmen or if they're senators, it's 6 years, a little bit different. But every election cycle, they pander to the base. They try and rile up the base, say, oh, we're going to do this, this, and this. And then they turn around once they get elected. It's a slap in the face. It's like, oh, fuck you. I'll see you in 6 years, whatever. But we need to elect politicians that are actually going to carry out the will of the people. Carry out the will of the people that put them there. Because, let's be honest, this current Republican Party isn't doing anything. So good for Tucker, and I hope more people speak out. Because, tell you what, Republican Party is going to get smashed in the midterms. That's just what it is. They're going to get absolutely murdered if they don't change up their positions and start putting forth policies and at least changing their rhetoric to start by putting America first. You got to condemn Israel and what they've done in Gaza. I don't see how they're our greatest ally when they continue to hurt us, both globally and economically. In addition to that, all of this talk about mass deportations, I hate seeing the Department of Homeland Security's Twitter, and they post the hype videos of kicking out illegals and arresting illegal alien criminals when they still won't publish the deportation numbers. Because in the beginning, they were too low. In January, when it was like 900, 800 a day, people were like, hey, if you do the math and it's 800 per day for 365 days for 4 years, it's like kind of less than 2 million. It's like right around 2 million. There were 10 million that came in the Biden administration. What are we doing? But again, we kind of all understand, if you are Gen Z man, we kind of do all understand that, like, Trump isn't really a planner. He's not somebody that thrives in strategy. He's more so a narcissist, which, if he's a narcissist carrying out talking, I want to make sure I get this right here. If he's a narcissist and he's giving out talking points in favor of your side and your political persuasion, then it's going to feel real good. It's like, oh, he's fighting for us. He's attacking the left. But then when he gets into office and he's attacking Thomas Massey, who lost his wife of 30 years last year. She was in a tragic, awful car accident. She died. And he just got remarried, and he's calling Thomas Massey out for getting remarried and saying, oh, his wife, she married a loser. It's like, this is the most honest guy in Congress on the right, at least. And you're attacking him? Why? Because he's going against your agenda? Because he understands that the Israel first policy is definitely not America first? So I don't fault him. I don't fault Tucker. And listen, I think we should all follow his lead. And if the Republican Party isn't going to do what we actually want them to do, then we're not going to turn out the midterms. And if we don't have an America First candidate, if we don't have a candidate that's actually going to do what we want him to do, or her, if it's Marjorie, then they're not getting our vote. I'm sorry. It is what it is, dude. It is what it is. And so here's a further sentiment to continue on. So Ted Cruz was recently at a event, on stage at some event for Christians, okay? And the reason I bring this up is because he was saying something about Israel, and then he got booed because whatever sentiment he was carrying out here was pro-Israel. And we know Ted Cruz. Tucker had that crazy viral interview where he slammed Ted Cruz for being pro-Israel before America. But just watch this video.
Respect for dialogue.
Okay, so it appears that there was a protester at this event and said that Ted Cruz being in favor of Israel, supporting Israel, is not America first, and it's not good for Christians because they've killed Christians, which Israel has.
I'll say this, I am saddened to see that some here, not everyone, but some here, are so consumed with hate that you cannot address your...
They're all booing him.
I will say this.
You speak for yourself.
If you will not stand with Israel and the Jews,
No.
then I will not stand with you. Thank you, and God bless you.
They all booed him. Obviously, there's some people that are applauding in the background, but I don't know. That doesn't sound like applause. It sounds like a mixed reaction. A lot of people in that audience were booing Ted. And why were they booing Ted Cruz? For the same purpose, for the same idea that I just spoke about, I gave that 15-minute epithet about. It's because these politicians are running in the Republican Party. The right-wingers in this country, the constituents, are voting for them thinking that they are going to govern how they voted them in there for. But when Ted Cruz comes out and he says the sole reason I got into the Senate, into the United States Senate, is because I was going to be Israel's #1 defender, it's like, are you running for anything in Israel? Because the last time I checked, it's been a minute since I checked, but you are a senator in America, in one of the biggest states in America, in the biggest right-wing state in America. So to placate to Israel is kind of odd because you have no political involvement with them other than the money that you take from them. And we know that's over $1 million. We get that. But it's just fascinating. And again, if they're going to continue to do this, then we have all the power going forward. The boomers are going to die eventually. And then we will have this overwhelming America First consensus on the right in America. But it's not going to end well for Ted Cruz. I will tell you that. And again, Tucker's right. Tucker is very much right that Republican Party needs to die. It's just that's just what it is. So, but I have a different video here. By the way, before we continue, I would like you all to subscribe to this channel. We do a great job here. We try and give the best political analysis possible. It's just what it is here. So if you can, just hit that subscribe button. It's not that hard. In addition to that, give the video a like. Comment what you think about the episode. Would really appreciate it. It would boost us in the algorithm. In addition to that, we're 20 minutes in. But in addition to that, I've neglected to mention to you, I will mention it to you now, we are doing memberships now on this channel. So for as low as 99 cents per month, that's right, you can contribute to this YouTube channel and be able to financially support us. What will you get in return? For 99 cents a month, if you comment on any YouTube video, it'll give me a notification that you are in the 99 cent a month club, and I'll reply to you. Unfortunately, I can't priority reply to anybody else anymore, but if you are in that club, then there's a higher likelihood than not that I will reply to your comment and give you a feedback on your comment. So that is all on the channel. You'll have to go to the membership side of the channel, but I'll put the link in the bio as well. With that being said, here's our next topic. So Alex Jones, we all know Alex Jones. He's infamous, you could say. He's been going viral again today, and this time it is because of his opposition to Donald Trump. A quote from him is that he said, I'm just going to go out and flat out read it. He said, quote, "I'm seriously inches away from not supporting Trump anymore." So maybe you don't believe me, and rightfully so. He's been one of Trump's biggest supporters over the past decade, but luckily for you, I'm going to play the clip. Here we go.
And I'm just going to say it point blank. I'm not a bandwagon person. I don't pile on when other people are doing something. But I know MTG well. She's a woman of incredible integrity, brought up poor, self-made, very successful construction company, a woman of great integrity. She announced last night that she is resigning. I predicted on the Tuesday broadcast, she didn't tell me this, but I talked to her at length, and it sounded to me like she was throwing in the towel just because she can't be part of something that's, quote, a lesser of two evils. And she's very popular in her district, wins by some of the widest margins of anyone in Congress, and we'll play her statement here in a moment, but that ties into all of this. But I'm not saying this because of what she just did. I'm going to have to reflect on this, and I'm going to have to pray about it, and I'm going to take a few weeks on it, I think, is the most important thing to do. But I'm not a person that is normally conflicted. I think I have a lot of knowledge, a lot of depth, a lot of sources, a lot of context. And when I do get conflicted on something, I just have to go to God with it and pray about it a lot. And then go to that place that King David talked about, the quiet place, the Most High. And then I'm going to make my decision. And I mean, if God tells me tonight, I'll make my decision. But I am seriously inches away from not supporting Trump anymore.
And there you go. So what do you think about that? Because Alex Jones, once again, has been one of Trump's biggest defenders for over a decade. And this is somebody who doesn't have another option. Like, he's publicly talked about on InfoWars that the Democrats want him basically done. They want to put him under the jail. They want him in prison for life because of this whole Sandy Hook thing. Now, we understand there's more to that. It's probably not just because of the Sandy Hook thing. Like, they hate that he's speaking the truth in a lot of circumstances. Some circumstances he's wrong. Some circumstances he's a tad crazy. But this is somebody that really doesn't have another choice to support Trump. So you know that he's been taken to the brink with this. In addition to that, wow, he's talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene and how Marjorie's been forced to resign, and she has been attacked by Trump, and Trump was calling to pledge $10 million to primary her in the Georgia Republican primary. Again, this is a guy, Donald Trump, who's so out of touch with the American right and the American people in general. And we've talked about this before, and we'll talk about it again. But he's doing the same exact thing that Joe Biden did. When people were hurting, when it was $5 gas, when everything was unaffordable, when inflation seemed like it would never stop. the Biden administration would say, did you see the jobs report last month? We have an all-time high record of new jobs created. America, you're welcome. And when you did the research, I mean, it took a couple minutes to do the research, but when you did the research, you found, hold on, these jobs have been here for a very long time. They were just halted during the pandemic when everybody couldn't work. And then once everybody could work and it was safe to work again, they were just brought back. It was like line, gap, because everybody stopped working, everything shut down, skyrocket again, and back to normal. So they weren't created, they were just put on hold and then reinstated. But this is what they told us. They told us, all-time high. All-time high. People couldn't afford to eat. And they were saying, this is the most affordable economy ever. You're doing the best that you've ever done, right? Yeah, you're doing the best. They would interview somebody and they'd be like, how are you doing compared to 4 years ago? How are you doing in this economy? And they'd be like, yeah, actually, I'm really strong. And they would go, back to you, Jenny. And then they would just continue to talk about something else on the news. Like, it was so pointless. It was such a facade. It was, I'm going to show you one thing over here. I'm going to distract you while this thing is actually happening. Like, and they're doing the same thing. When Trump is saying, and it's particularly insulting to Gen Z that got him in office, when he's saying, there's no housing crisis. And the reality is the median first-time age of a home buyer is 40, and a decade ago it was 30. And Trump's saying, maybe there's a housing crisis. We're going to wait till 2026 to declare a housing emergency. It's like, what are you doing? How mad do you want to make young people, but young men in particular? Would you like a revolution? Because the young men are going to be the ones that start the revolution, if there is a revolution. I would not like a revolution. But people like Alex Jones now, we covered Tucker in the beginning of the show, but people like Alex Jones are seeing this and saying, what if I put my life on the line for these past 10 years? What is this movement? What is the Make America Great Again movement? Marjorie Taylor Greene may be an opportunist, but she's saying a lot of the right things recently. She's been talking about the exploitation of the H-1B visa program, about how American workers, American laborers are being excluded from the workforce, about how young people in particular can't afford to buy homes, and yet it's falling on deaf ears. Like, Trump doesn't care. He says all these things, and then it's 600,000 workers from China coming through on the H-1B visa program. That's 600,000 American workers, Americans in general, that could have came here and studied, and it's their home country. They could have gone to these universities, studied, got high-paying jobs, but instead they're being replaced by Chinese nationals. And what about that is America first? What about that is Make America Great Again? My thoughts on this are quite simple. I think that this is part of a backroom deal with Xi, in particular when talking about the 600,000 American workers, or Chinese nationals rather, coming here through the H-1B visa program. I think it's one of those backdoor deals with him. You know how these things work. It's always compromise, right? But I feel like he's selling his soul, Trump is, when it comes to these negotiations. In particular with all of these corporations saying, Tim Cook is going to invest half a $1 billion in a factory in America making iPhones. It's like, yeah, this is going to take 15 years. It's like, you may be dead in 15 years. You're probably not going to see this through. These CEOs, all these people in high positions are just going to tell you, they're going to pay lip service. They're going to, and we know he has a huge ego, so they're going to stroke Trump's ego, be like, you're the greatest, you're the best. By the way, am I good? Are you not going to come after me anymore? Well, good. All right. Yeah, we'll pledge a couple $1 billion over the next 15 years. When are you going to start? When are you going to start that factory? Oh, Donald, 2030. Everything. We're going to start digging 20. Oh, perfect. And then you're never going to see it. It's all fake. It's not good. It is not good. That's the whole theme of this episode, by the way, is just like, we have to be done with the Republican Party. It's been the whole theme of the show for the past couple of weeks, one of the dominant themes at least. But it's like, why? Why do we continue to support a party that is just not doing what it tells us that they're going to do? Why would we continue to support politicians that are going to pay lip service to what we want, and then when they get in office, they do the exact opposite? They're exactly like the Democrats, except the rhetoric is a little bit different. Like, that's it. It's insane. I mean, what are you going to do? You know, you feel like things are going to change. And I thought that when Trump was elected the first time. I certainly thought it was going to happen when he got elected the second time. And nothing has changed. Sure as shit, nothing has changed. So that's that. But we're going to continue to talk about the Republican Party, sure enough, because Nick Fuentes is in the news again. He's always in the news. Now, of course, he's the number one most talked about streamer in general, one of the leading media personalities on the American right wing, and specifically, Bill Maher and Lara Trump were talking about him. So Lara Trump went on Bill Maher's podcast, Club Random, and sure enough, you can guess what their opinions are of Nick Fuentes when he came up. So we are going to play that for you. Here we go.
You know, now there are people who I wouldn't have here, like that little prick Nick Fuentes.
That is
Nick
an
Fuentes.
unfortunate individual, and I hate that he gets associated so closely with, you know, the MAGA movement, with my father-in-law, with all of this stuff, because
Well,
that
they
is.
should denounce him more forcefully.
Well, I mean, maybe you're right, but he is certainly not the.
She hates that he's associated with Trump. It's like, he is more Trump. He's more MAGA than Trump. Trump is like, he campaigns on Make America Great Again. He campaigns on America First. And then he's sending billions to Israel. And then he's sending billions to Ukraine. Still, he says the Russian-Ukraine war is going to end within 24 hours of being president-elect. A year later, November 25th today, so a year and some change after he gets elected, and the war is still going on. And it's gotten much worse. In addition to that, he said he would start no new wars, and we bombed Iran, and now we're talking about going into Venezuela and starting a war with them. In addition to that, he promised that he would shut the border down. He's done that, but he also said he was going to do mass deportations, and they stopped publishing the numbers for deportations in January. Do you see the problem? He additionally said that we were going to have a great economy, that we were going to enter a golden age. And besides the price of gas and, I don't know, eggs, it's more unaffordable than ever to buy a home. And it feels like my generation will never be able to afford a home. We'll never be able to afford the American dream, and thus start a family, and thus reproduce, and thus replace the population. Do you see the problem? So Nick Fuentes, on the other hand, is actually talking about this, was inspired by Trump's campaign in 2015, 2016, and has gained a massive following because your father is not doing what he said he would do.
Not the representative that I think any of us
in
believe
many ways,
should be
I would
out
hope
front.
the problem, one of the problems with your father-in-law is, like, if anybody likes him, he has a real hard time not liking them.
That's true.
That, I mean, and that has led him to some bad things.
That may be true.
Which, you know what? I'm not the only liberal who said there's enough to attack him for. The thing about fine people on both sides, I mean, even Sam Harris, another liberal, has made the case I've made, like, it's not the full statement.
Of course it's not.
Don't get him on that.
Oh,
And
I'll go all day on that.
I know, no. And what that is just this thing of him, anybody who likes me, I can't quite denounce. But this Fuentes prick, like, Trump is not Hitler.
No.
I mean, Larry David said I had dinner with Hitler because it was such a
shame.
bullshit thing.
Yeah.
Trump is not Hitler. This Fuentes kid, that's Hitler.
No, that's.
Oh my gosh, he's not Hitler. And if he's Hitler, then we're all Hitler, and we're not all Hitler. And also, why do we have to all talk about how Hitler is like the worst person in the history of the world? I mean, if that was the case, we would be talking about Genghis Khan, but I guess nobody has a brain that can remember all the way back there. This constant condemnation of Nick, this constant condemnation of the Groypers and anybody that remotely agrees with Nick Fuentes, it's a huge problem because it's a huge problem for them because it's only going to make them bigger. It's only going to grow this movement bigger. It's only going to grow this America First movement. they want to constantly dismiss. But again, these are two out-of-touch adults. These are two adults who are doing quite well. Bill Maher's a millionaire, multi-millionaire comedian, podcaster, talk show host. Lara Trump is part of the Trump family. Her husband, Eric Trump, is the guy now that controls the whole Trump empire. She is along for the ride. She is also out of touch. These people aren't normal Americans. They don't understand how Donald Trump has failed on the process or the promise of MAGA. And how when the government was shut down, they had this giant, what's the word I'm looking for? The book, the novel, and the movie. It was DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire. This giant party. I can't get the references. What it is? They had this giant party in Mar-a-Lago, and there's champagne, and there's dancers and wine glasses. That was a little bit weird. It's not very conservative. But they're celebrating. It's all this food and money and big celebration while the government is literally shut down. And it was an ultimate mask-off moment. To everybody in America, when the government was shut down, and there was this huge Mar-a-Lago party thrown by Trump, and all of this money being spent and all of this food. We're talking crab, we're talking shrimp, we're talking champagne. It was extravagant. And when it turned out that people's SNAP benefits were being shut off and people couldn't afford to buy groceries, it was the Great Gatsby. You have a Great Gatsby party, and it was an ultimate slap in the face to Americans. Again, these people are out of touch. They don't get it. They don't understand. And Nick gets it. And Nick understands. And all of Gen Z men, most Gen Z men, agree with him. And it's not just men. Women also agree with him. Yes, he could be a little rough around the edges. Who isn't? Yes, people can be a little bit rhetorically difficult sometimes and use language that adults don't understand. But in addition to that, all of Gen Z talks like that. A lot of Gen Z uses these slurs and outrageous language to be edgelords, but like that's the culture. So they don't get it. They don't get it. And it's very unfortunate, but they're going to be shocked in a couple of years when the GOP is literally occupied by America First, by Groypers. It's just what it is. But I had to highlight that because what an insane contradiction. Again, they're condemning Nick Fuentes when Nick Fuentes is carrying out the promises of MAGA. Insane, man. Insane. I have one more thing, and I don't even know if I want to talk about this, but I think I am. We have Erica Kirk. And Erica Kirk has been really milking that grieving widow act for a long time now. Now, I don't know about you, but before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I didn't know who Erica Kirk was. I knew he was married, but I didn't know Erica's name. I didn't even know what she looked like. And I kind of miss not knowing what she looked like. And I kind of miss not knowing her name. Because I see her everywhere now. And I've seen enough fake tear dabs to be annoyed. I'm quite annoyed. And I'm quite annoyed with the fact that we can't criticize her because she's a grieving widow. And again, what do I mean? Well, I'm going to show you now what exactly I mean. So here's a couple of different pictures of Erica Kirk dabbing fake tears while appearing to cry. Example 1. She was being interviewed by Megyn Kelly. I don't see any tears, but you know what? It's a blurry photo. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Second picture. This is a much clearer picture. This is at Charlie Kirk's funeral where she walked out to fireworks. I don't know about you guys, but this does not exactly look like a grieving woman. Her husband was shot in cold blood. I mean, I remember, not to be graphic, but I feel like I mourned harder for Charlie Kirk, and I didn't even really like Charlie Kirk. Continuing, here's another photo. I mean, show us that you don't give a fuck more. Really? Honest to God, really? So, it appears that she's fake crying, okay? Well, we have a recent photo of her and JD Vance. This was from a couple of weeks ago, but people are saying that JD Vance and Erica Kirk had a very intimate hug. And here is the hug, and she's really grabbing the back of his neck. She really wanted to be close to JD, almost like she was like kissing his right ear, like just really around him. Now again, I don't know, giving her the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know any woman in my life who, if their husband was brutally shot in cold blood, brutally murdered, he gets shot in the neck and all of his guts are coming out, and love this man. These women loved their husbands, right? I don't know if any of the women that I know in my life, if their husband was shot in cold blood, would grip the neck of another man months after their husband was brutally assassinated, and she appeared to be so happy while doing so. So we have the video of Erica Kirk talking to Megyn Kelly about this one fact, and it's very interesting, and it's odd, but tell me if this looks like a grieving widow.
You did get married.
Yes.
You have 2 kids.
2 precious babies.
And you told me this in private, but how many kids did you guys want to have?
We wanted to have 4. Yeah. And I was praying to God that I was pregnant when he got murdered.
Oh, wow. I thought of that once.
There's the dab, by the way. There's the fake tear dab.
Just like whether it was meant to be or whether we'd get news like that.
I was like, oh goodness.
She's practiced that fake tear dab. I guarantee the day after Charlie was tragically murdered, she practiced that fake tear dab for hours in the mirror, just getting the right fold on the handkerchief, just pretending.
That would be the ultimate blessing out of this catastrophe. So now when I see young couples, I tell them, please, don't put it off. Especially if you're a young woman, don't put it off. You can always have a career. You can always, go back to work. You can never just go back to having children. And they grow so fast and so quickly, but...
Okay, that's the right message, but does anybody else find this weird? Does anybody else see the insane contradiction that now it would be one thing if she was grieving and we didn't really see her, but now she's in front of the cameras every day, and now she's a political person because she assumed the leadership role at Turning Point USA, immediately. She didn't even give him a second to vote or debate or who's going to replace it. No, she's like, I'll do it. In ultimate class pet, teacher's pet, theater kid, whatever style, I'll do it. It's like, I thought you were a stay-at-home wife. I thought you had nothing to do with this whole political process, but then when you look into it, she was a model in one of Trump's beauty pageants, and her father is a big person in D.C., and there's talk about how it might have been an arranged marriage, and was this all set up to be fake? And then you hear, oh, she was actually 5 years older than Charlie. That's a little bit weird, but it's just, I don't know any grieving women who are in my life, not hypotheticals, that I know, that would continue to go out in front of cameras and smile, and at most of the times act completely normal, like Erica Kirk is doing. And I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick, but the fact that you can't criticize her because she's grieving is insane, because this is an entirely different level of grief, different stage of grief than I've ever seen before. And I know some pretty fucking crazy people, but this is insane. And then people were talking about, she's talking about she wishes she was pregnant, and it's like, is this kind of her soft debuting a baby that's not hers? There's rumors, and I'm not going to say there's any validity to these rumors, but people are saying that she's pregnant with JD Vance's baby because JD Vance is carrying all the water for all of these young white men, and the young white men don't like that he's married to an Indian. He's made public comments about how he married her when he wasn't Catholic, and now he's Christian, and now he's Catholic, and he wishes she would become Christian, and people are saying, this base doesn't love that he's married to Usha Vance. I'm not going to start any rumors, but it's just odd. So what do you think about the show? I hope you loved it. I think it's a pretty good show. I think you should subscribe and join the 99 cent per month club. But that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye-bye.